Welcome to the Dumpster Dive, because my only financial incentive is autism. I am your host, Digby the Cat. And tonight we are leading with the same story that we have always led with, because it's still going on. Everybody's favorite war. The war that nobody asked for, the Iran War. Insofar, right now, it's actually quietened down. Shockingly. Surprisingly. The Americans have returned to the negotiating table, sort of. As we know, literally an hour after the last episode aired, the Americans went, "Hey, it's a ceasefire. Time for a ceasefire. We're gonna negotiate again." And well, that ceasefire did not exactly go according to stated plans, anyways. The the Iranians were under the impression that the ceasefire also included Lebanon. It did not, according to the Israelis, despite the Americans reportedly telling the Israelis not to do what they were doing in Lebanon, but oh well. Trying to control the Israelis is like trying to control the tide. The level of effort needed vastly eclipses any potential gain. Ah dear. But overall, the things have quietened down. There have been sporadic strikes here and there by all sides, but for the most part, the main theater has quietened down. In the time since the last episode, the negotiations have reportedly been attempted and have immediately fallen flat on their face, with the Americans essentially walking out. According to some reports, the American side was headed up by J.D. Vance, and they basically just did nothing. Reportedly, J.D. Vance spent more time on his phone talking to Trump than he did talking to the Iranians, suggesting that Trump was micromanaging the whole affair. Either way, it resulted in negotiations breaking down. The ceasefire still seems to be holding, sort of, suggesting that the main thrust of negotiations that we've seen so far has basically been theater. Just both sides playing it up. Who knows what's actually going on behind closed doors? Not us, but we will eventually, I imagine. The Iranians have responded, of course, by strengthening their blockade, attempting to prevent ships from leaving the Persian Gulf. And the Americans have responded with a very a very surprising and very inspired tactic. Oh, you're going to blockade the Strait of Hormuz. Two can play at that game. We are also going to blockade the Strait of Hormuz. I gotta admit, it is an inspired strategy. Here we have an article from US CENTCOM, Central Command, who covered the Middle East. CENTCOM forces will begin implementing a blockade of all maritime traffic entering and exiting Iranian ports from April 13 onwards in accordance with the President's proclamation. Now, there's an interesting point here. Let's just look at El Presidente Trumpo's public statement. There you have it. Meeting went well. Most points were agreed to, but the only one point that really mattered, nuclear, was not effective. Immediately, the United States Navy, blah, 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 finest in the world, begin the process of blockading any and all ships trying to enter or leave the Strait of Hormuz. Now, notice there is a difference here. Trump is saying all ships. Trump says all ships. CENTCOM says any ships leaving Iranian ports. Well, entering and exiting Iranian ports. That is a very, very big. That's a very big, very meaningful difference. And he is also stating that he intends to have the US Navy hunt down and attack, potentially, seek and interdict every vessel in international waters that have paid the toll. That is a dangerous potential. That's a dangerous potential policy, but they doesn't seem to be saying anything on that note from CENTCOM though. So I wouldn't be shocked if Trump's hyping it up a bit. I wouldn't be shocked if Trump is hyping things up a bit for, whipping up his base, so to speak. That would be in line with his general behavior. But overall, it's quite it's quite a surprising move overall. It is definitely an inspired strategy. Beat the blockade by blockading them. Reportedly, vessels have been transiting. Hang on a second. This is the. Reportedly, vessels have been transiting the strait and turning around when they have been intercepted and warned by the Americans to return, whilst other ones have been allowed to leave. And of course, as we see, very little traffic heading towards Iranian ports now. But there is still a lot of ships just stuck in here. And as we can see, even the vessels that are being allowed, everyone's avoiding this area, the area that Iran has reportedly, well, except for those guys, crazy bastards. But this is the area that the Iranians are reported to have laid mines in. Was that Taha? Let's follow these Taha guys. See where they go. Yeah, looks like they're leaving. Yep, they're gone. Look at them. Off they go. Yeah, we can definitely see that there is a definite reduction in total traffic towards Iranian ports. So that is a definite shift up in how things are going. He is also stating that the USA is going to be starting in anti-mine operations in the region. Yeah, there we go. We will also begin destroying the mines the Iranians laid in the straits. This will be difficult for the USA as it doesn't have much of a minesweeper fleet at this point. It has a very limited minesweeper fleet. As it stands, the USA recently retired its old minesweepers and is now entirely reliant on the handful of littoral combat ships that are equipped for minesweeping, and they're not very good at it, reportedly. Likely a reason why Trump continues to try and command the rest of NATO to get involved, as they have more mine clearing capability than the USA, or at least more effective mine clearing capability. And the UK has reportedly gone, no, we're not getting involved. Obviously, France is refusing to get involved, and the rest of the EU are seemingly following France's lead on this one because France is the only relevant military power in the question here. So yes, UK minesweepers and anti-drone capabilities will continue operating in the region. Okay, so the UK government is interested in mine clearing, but it doesn't seem like they're being involved just yet. CENTCOM added that towards will not impede the freedom of vessels transiting to and from non-Iranian ports, which is again a contradiction of Trump's public statement. Obviously, what Britain and France and the EU say on this matter is kind of irrelevant because they can't exactly command the US Navy or anything like that. So it's all a question of how long is it going to be before the Americans give up on this or the Iranians give up. Now, one of the reasons for this all might be, like, they do emphasize entering Iranian ports, so it is pretty likely that they are also aiming to target Chinese vessels. There you go. 6 merchant vessels in the first 24 hours complied with direction from US forces to turn around. It's an interesting play. It's a very, very unique. It's a very unique idea. I've got to give Trump's props for this one. This is quite the trick. This is a very much an Uno reverse. This is very much an Uno reverso. Now, reportedly, the talks between the USA and Iran are sort of continuing, with more reportedly coming in Pakistan. There are claims that the Israelis tried to assassinate the Iranian negotiating team, but those are entirely unsubstantiated right now. But it is the sort of thing I would expect from them. But reportedly, right now, the main points of contention are the nuclear capability, unsurprisingly, and the Strait of Hormuz itself. With the Americans obviously wanting the strait open for everyone, no tolls or anything like that, and they also want all of Iran's nuclear program shut down. Whilst the Iranians themselves are also like not terribly keen on losing their nuclear program, but they're also not keen on giving up on the Strait of Hormuz right now. Obviously, they can't give up the financial lifeline that the toll booth is providing them. And realistically, if they're going to get any kind of like war reparations, the toll booth is the only way they're going to get those. The nuclear program, I think, might be on the table. The problem is that the only ones who would have likely agreed to that are also the people the Americans killed. Well, the Americans and the Israelis killed, so it's. Oh, well. Yes, apparently Vance is leading the negotiations, but as said earlier, he spent more time talking to Trump over the phone than talking to the Iranians, implying that Vance has a limited capacity to actually make any decisions. Whether this is because Trump just likes to micromanage or because he doesn't trust Vance is entirely debatable. Overall, it's looking like the conflict is going to be cooling down for a bit for a while. Traffic is still very limited. Traffic through the strait is still very limited. As you can see, we could probably sit here for like this and just measure it, just count how many ships pass through, but you can sort of get the point here. There's not many people passing through. There's not many ships going through. Now, there have been reports that a lot of oil tankers are starting to head towards the USA and Venezuela instead. Indeed, Trump did put out a statement on Truth Social to this effect, with some now stating that perhaps this was all a long con intended to push the value of American oil exports up, to get countries to stop buying from the Middle East and instead buy from the USA and the now USA controlled Venezuela. I wouldn't be shocked by this. I wouldn't be shocked by this. It is the sort of scheme that the Americans like to pull. So I would not be shocked in the slightest. I also wouldn't be shocked in the slightest to hear that Trump was getting a kickback on that one, but obviously the American state will be getting a nice cut of all those oil revenues. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Obviously, for some of these countries like China and much of Southeast Asia, American oil imports are simply not financially feasible. They're just not feasible. It's too far, too expensive, just not worth it. So I could see Europe getting itself into another situation where it is too dependent on a single energy supplier. You know, like they did with Russia. Like they did with Russia back in the day. So I can definitely see that happening, but I don't know. I think they might have learned their lesson on that one. I think they might have learned their lesson on that one. But yeah, the oil is now well over $100 a barrel. It's getting expensive. Brent crude. Let's see how much it is a barrel now, shall we? Oh, we're back into the 90s. We're back into the 90s. So it hit 110. It hit a peak of 114 on back in March. Dipped to 115 April the 6th. And now the last 2 days it's gone down to 109, sorry. Yeah, peaked at 112, dipped back down to around 110, and then it went, well, down to the 90s, and it's not really recovered since then. Mind you, before all this mess, the oil was around $70 a barrel. So, whoopsie doodles. Obviously, gold's doing quite well. Wow, I didn't realize gold had such a big dip this year. Damn, should have bought gold at this point, huh? Oh well, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. But yeah, that's the U.S. Iran conflict right now. The conflict is frozen until circumstances change. Does it look like the Americans might attack again during negotiations? I wouldn't count it out. Will the Iranians cause some shit? Probably. We'll see what happens. But moving over to Europe, there's quite a bit of news. Hungary's Viktor Orban is now gone from power after 16 years. After 16 years, he has his illiberal democracy, as I think you like to call it, is gone. It's quite surprising, but at the same time, this was inevitably going to happen. This was inevitably going to happen. Sooner or later, the number of problems were going to mount up, or he was going to have a bad year. 16 years is a pretty good run for for any democratically elected leader. And as much as some people may have been like, election corruption, blah, 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 evidently, as we could see, Hungary's elections are pretty legitimate, pretty on the up and up. If somebody this different could get in, obviously this is going to be quite the upset for the current state of affairs in Hungary. The new guy is much more pro EU, whilst Orban tried to like juggle things. On the one hand, he liked the EU. On the other hand, he was also quite cognizant of Hungary's relative position to Russia. So he was very much of the opinion like it's not worth making an enemy of of Russia. So we'll see how the new guy does. Obviously, records. Wow, 79.5% of the electorate turned out. That's a very high for any democratic election. Result of the election is clear and painful, he said. Well, that's quite. Obviously, some people are saying don't read too much into it because whilst the fellow in question is more pro EU, he is still very much a populist sort. He's still very much a populist sort. Reportedly crediting his win to a good kind of populism. He's still very much a nationalist, reportedly, and very much focused on Hungarian sovereignty, but he's still more pro EU. It's going to be interesting to see how these positions clash. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that one goes. But yeah, look at that. Yikes. Fidesz was his party, as I recall. I can't remember. Was his party Fidesz? Ah, yes, Orban's Fidesz. Yeah, I'm no doubt mispronouncing that. I don't know who Art Homeland is. They are clearly not relevant. But this is the new guy. This is the new guy's party. As you can see, they have a very clear majority. It's going to be interesting to see how this goes. Obviously, Orban is on the out. He's not resigned as leader of his party, which tends to be what happens when you lose an election. But then again, 16 years, he's been at this a while. But anyways, it's an interesting shift. We'll see how that changes. It's Despite conducting dialogue with Orban, Moscow is still regarded as an unfriendly country because it supported sanctions against Russia. It is kind of like defined Orban's time in power. They'd vote in favor of EU sanction packages, but they would still speak out against them. So he was kind of trying to straddle the border there, shall we say. But in other European news, France is making it official. They are kicking out Windows. They have looked at Microsoft. They have wondered why are they sending so much money to the Americans, and they're kicking them out. They've had enough. They don't like Microsoft. They have ended it. Well, they are in the process of ending it. Replacing 2.5 million Windows desktops in government with Linux. Obviously, they are apparently making their own distro. They are reportedly making their own distro. Oh, they already have a police Linux distro. Ubuntu? What? Hang on a second. I gotta look this up. Ubuntu. Ah, that was a mistake. That was also a mistake. Ubuntu is a version of Ubuntu adapted for use by France's National Gendarmerie. Ah, okay. 2005. Oh no, it started in 2008. They just adopted OpenOffice. Interesting. So they are going to make this big shift. It is a huge shift, and it is very much in line with the EU's push for open source software to replace all of the big American tech company owned platforms and services that they are currently using. Things like Microsoft Windows, Microsoft Office, Google, all that shit. It's quite a big one though. This is quite a big push. This is not like we're doing a pilot program, or this is we're doing a feasibility study, or where it's just like one regional government ditching it. No, this is the French state top down going, be gone. Everyone get your plan to us now, because if you don't, we are going to fucking kill you. You're fired if you don't have a migration plan to us by the end of 2026. Sorry, fall of 2026. The state can no longer simply acknowledge its dependence. It must break free. We must become less reliant on American tools and regain control of our digital destiny. Digital sovereignty is not optional, according to this David Amiel. A strategic necessity. It's quite the big shift. So they are reportedly going to make their own Linux distro, and it will likely be based on Ubuntu or Debian by the looks of it. Yeah, the Gendarmerie Ubuntu. I wonder if they will just like continue using Ubuntu. A complete switchover could save the country well over 40 million on Windows licenses alone. Switch the entire government to the. Oh yeah, there we go. Extra European digital. Wow, so they want to completely shift. They want to completely end all extra European digital dependencies by 2027. That is a very ambitious plan, and I will not be surprised if they accomplish it because the the French don't fuck around when they want to. Will they just use Genbuntu as it is, or will they expand it, or will they make something else? Who knows? It's going to be quite impressive either way if they actually when they actually pull this off. If they pull this off, I think they will. I think they will. It is quite possible. It is more than possible even. Ew, it's gonna be using GNOME. Well, GNOME. Blech, blech, GNOME. Don't like it. Every everybody has everybody has their everyone has their preference. Everyone has their preference for desktop Linux desktop environments. Digby does not like GNOME. Digby does not like GNOME. Can we get some like images of it, please? Yeah, I'm not a fan of GNOME. Not a fan of GNOME. The many years ago, this is what a oh god, that's a tiny image for ants. Many years ago, this is what GNOME looked like many years ago. God damn it! What is this? A fucking thing for ants? This was very much like the classic Linux desktop look. This is very much the classic Linux desktop look, and I loved it. But GNOME went a different direction. GNOME went a different direction. Oh yeah, here we go. We got a timeline. 2004 OpenOffice.org. Goddamn, OpenOffice.org. I wonder if they'll be continue to use OpenOffice, or would they now use LibreOffice? Yeah, it's discontinued. So I wonder what they're using now. I wonder what they're using now. I would imagine they're using LibreOffice. Like what? I would imagine they're using LibreOffice. I mean that would be the most likely one. Or was there what was it? Only Office? Yeah, there's options. There's options. There's options. Either way, this is big news for the Linux world. It matches the EU's general move to push the EU and its member states away from American tech dependency, relying on the one thing that Europe has in abundance in regards to software capability: open source. So it's going to be interesting to see how that one works out. Although thinking on it, what country is Debian from? What country was Debian from? Distro watch. Origin global. Yeah, well, that doesn't tell us much there. That doesn't tell us much. Either way, I'm all for it. Digby loves his Linux. And in other tech news, Valve is reportedly starting to receive hardware destined for the Steam controller. The notorious Valve leaker, sadly, it's Bradley. otherwise known as Brad Lynch, is reported to be has reported that Valve is receiving large quantity imports of wireless PC controllers. That sounds a lot like the new Steam controller. Generally speaking, that would be this thing here. Generally speaking, you wouldn't be buying in a lot of physical stock unless you are ready to ship. Now, there is another alternative interpretation here that the stock has been sat in warehouses somewhere else for a long time, with Valve refusing to take delivery because they haven't been able to get their other hardware. And now it's just come to a point where the suppliers have gone, you will take delivery, or we will throw them in a landfill or sell them ourselves, unbranded. And Valve's gone, okay, fine, we'll take delivery. That's a possibility, but it could also mean that we are on the verge. We are on the verge of receiving of the thing, the beauty, the steam, the cube, the glorious cube being in our hands. Oh, the Gabe cube. We all want it. We all need it. Praise be the Gabe cube, taken from us by the Rampocalypse. Ah, dear. Either way, this is exciting news. Exciting news, but it's debatable if it's actually going to lead to a upcoming launch. We can only hope. In regards to memory, the Rampocalypse and memory manufacturing, Chinese premier memory maker YMTC are planning 2 additional hubs in Wuhan of all places. Now, the important thing here is the increase in domestic tooling. They are apparently up to 50% domestic tooling. Now, this is reportedly the manufacturing equipment, they're not fudging the numbers, although I wouldn't be shocked if they were fudging the numbers by including all the ancillary equipment and the environment maintenance equipment, like HVACs and so on, and air filtration equipment. I wouldn't be shocked if they're padding the numbers that way, but they are reportedly not padding the numbers. This is manufacturing, direct manufacturing. So this is one of their new fabs, and it will be crossing the halfway mark. Their current domestic tooling adoption rate sits at 45% apparently. And Phase 3 is very much Phase 3 is the name, apparently the name being given to the new plant right now. It's going to be very much a test run to see if Chinese domestic equipment can do it at commercial volumes. Some people are saying it's very unlikely. Some people are saying it's very unlikely, but the fact that China is getting to this point at all, the fact that China is able to get here at all is very impressive and is testament to the Chinese state's continuing efforts in this field and the continuing stupidity of Western manufacturers in hiring Chinese people. Because they hire these Chinese graduates who've gone to Western universities, and then they work there for a few years, and then they go bye and go home. And shocker, they take everything they've learned with them. So that is how one of the reasons the Chinese technology capabilities keep catching up. It's not just that they're copying people, it's that they're getting a direct understanding of how this stuff works and then taking it home with them. And reportedly, they are going to be putting a lot of this into DRAM. Intended for AI accelerators, which is unsurprising. That being said, it is going to be interesting having another big player in the field. Although they do reportedly hold 11% of the global NAND market. But it's going to be interesting to if they start selling outside of China. in meaningful quantities. Like, I've never seen anything by YMTC, but then again, I don't know what brands they sell under. I don't know what brand they sell under. Hmm. It's going to be interesting. If this works out, then this would be a huge step for the Chinese silicon manufacturing industry. Like a huge, 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 huge thing for them. It would be a point where they can really start presenting a huge threat to the existing players in the field, as it would provide a new potential manufacturer for the equipment to make memory and other silicon stuff, other chips and so on. Because right now, your main supplier is ASML. Like they are it. They are it. they if somebody catches up, if somebody's able to duplicate ASML's capabilities, that's quite a big deal. Because it wouldn't just be ASML that they're on par with. It would also be the various manufacturers, the smaller manufacturers who support ASML, like the wacky German company who makes the world's smoothest objects for the mirrors. There is a lot of high-end industrial capabilities, which in some cases even the USA isn't capable of, that would be replicated by China all in one place. It would be quite the feat, quite impressive. Obviously, then after that, the question becomes, will they be able to continue to improve? ASML has long been quite a driving force in the semiconductor manufacturing industry in regards to improving technologies. Current EUV technology was pioneered by them, and they are, of course, still working with basically every concerned party in the industry to further refine that technology and find the next big thing. So it'll be interesting to see if China is able to build up an equivalent to that gigantic research ecosystem and sustain that. I don't know if they will, but it'll be interesting to find out either way. When the Chinese state decides they really, really want something, 9 times out of 10, they're able to figure it out. Although they often have other problems emerging as a consequence or issues maintaining it. Stories abound of their rocket forces. For instance, the enlisted men shaving off pieces of solid rocket motors to use for cooking fires. That is one of the craziest videos I've ever seen come out of the Chinese military. These PLA rocket corps guys just opening up a rocket, shaving off bits of the motor, putting the rest of the motor back in, and then they use those bits they shaved off for cooking. It's like, that can't be a good idea. That can't be healthy. That can't be safe. But oh well. Oh well. I guess a hot meal is that important to them. But yeah, that is the extent of the good news. We have some good news, some middling news, and some I'm not sure what to make of it news. we live in the silliest timeline in some regards. In some regards, we live in the silliest timeline. I do resent that this whole Iran war thing has given Macron an opportunity to constantly aura farm. But so be it. So be it. Oh dear, the man. I remembered when he first came to power. Macron said, "I will rule as Jupiter," or some shit like that. And now he's just, like, many years later. Now he's getting the opportunity to just aura farm. Now he's really getting to pull the Jupiter act. Oh well. Oh well. Until next time. Make sure to look after yourselves. Be sure to go on the Digby Cord, report and comment on any stories you would like covered. Anything you would like me to go into on these, by all means, please do. Comment below, like, subscribe, do all the good stuff. Make sure to keep your heads down and watch out, because the world is constantly changing. Things are happening. We have left the nothing ever happens era, and we are now in the things happening era, so do be careful, everyone. Until next time, I've been your host, Digby the Cat, and this has been the Dumpster Dive for the 14th of the 4th, 2026. Information cutoff was 2200 hours British time. Bye bye.